Hi guys, good morning. A warm welcome from Manage Engine AD Solutions team. My name is Ram. I will be the product expert for O365 Manager Plus team. So as discussed, today we would be discussing a few features about O365 Manager Plus tool. So what are we going to discuss? I'm going to give you a brief introduction about the agenda that we would be seeing for today. Okay, so this is what we would be seeing for today. So in this workshop, we would be learning about mailbox size and its configurations and what are the permissions that has been assigned for mailboxes, what's the traffic that is happening on mailboxes, etc. And also about the status of the mailboxes, what type of configuration has been set on the mailboxes, and retention policies and user login activity happening on mailboxes. Not just user mailboxes, we are also going to be looking about the shared mailboxes and the security permissions that has been assigned on all mailboxes, may it be a shared mailbox or may it be a user mailbox, etc. And apart from that, we are also going to be having a quick look about the distribution list, room mailboxes, and the permission for calendar reports, etc. Okay, all right. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started over here. So I'm gonna launch the product. Okay, so let me refresh the browser right now. Okay, so as discussed, we would be looking a lot about the mailboxes, its configurations, and its settings. Let's get started with the let's get started with the general reports for the mailboxes. So over here, you would be getting a better picture about the mailboxes, who are all the users who have a valid mailbox and what are the status of the mailboxes as we discussed in the agenda. So let me click on the first report, which would give you the detailed information about the mailbox enabled users in your organization. So let me click over here. Okay, so this is how the report looks like. So probably what are we going to do is here you'll be able to see the email address of the user, and you would also be able to see what type of mailbox is that. So if you see here in the recipient type, we will be able to see what type of mailbox is it. So what type of mailbox, like for example, is it a room mailbox or is it an equipment mailbox, etc. For example, let me just show you how to apply a filter. Basically, not every information we would be needing from a particular report. Only few information is what you would be requiring. For example, if you want to filter out only the user mailbox out of this report, let me just copy the user mailbox from the recipient type. Let me just go all the way to the recipient type, apply a filter. I'm going to type in user mailbox, and once I apply a filter, I would be getting a report which would be filtering out only the user mailboxes in this reports category. And not just applying filters, you can also have this filter scheduled as a new report. All you have to do is click on the save option over here. You will be getting an option. So what's going to be the report's name? So I'm going to give it as a user mailbox report. And a description could be like anything. And once I hit save, let me just, user, okay. And once I hit save, I would be having an option to schedule even the filter, that I just applied to this particular report, which I can find it out over here, filtered reports, user mailbox, and I'm going to have this report scheduled. So schedule a new report, okay. So this is how it works. So even applying a filter, you can go ahead and schedule that filter as a separate report. Okay, so next report is going to be the inactive mailboxes within the given amount of time. So inactive mailboxes, if it brings up a summarized information, it's going to be a total waste of time. So you might be running into a question. Okay, if your boss approaches you and asks, what, I need a report for mailboxes that has been inactive within a given amount of time. In order to do that, this report will be much helpful for you. All you have to do is allocate the date over here, enter the number of days, using which, with the number of days that you enter, you'll be able to find the inactive mailboxes, and you'll be able to find those information. You can find a lot of information like, when the user logged into the mailbox, when was the last time the user logged into the mailbox, in like how it's been how many days since the user logged into his mailbox. Every information can be found out from this particular report. Okay, so, and not just inactive mailboxes, you would also be able to find the hidden mailboxes. When I say hidden mailboxes, yes, it's been hidden from the global address list. And mailboxes that have been archived, you would also be able to find that. For example, if I click on the hidden mailboxes report, here's how it looks like. So these are all the mailboxes that has been hidden from the global address list. And regardless of the recipient type, we would be showing the mailboxes in this report. So if you see here, it's not just user mailboxes that you would be seeing over here. Every mailboxes, recipient type, which includes room mailbox, shared mailbox, equipment mailboxes, etc. Okay, and the next thing is going to be the mailbox features, because every mailbox has its own feature. What type of feature has been enabled, if it's a POP3 or IMAP or ActiveSync or what type of feature, may it be anything. If you want to track down that information, click on the mailbox features. It would give you the information about which mailbox has what type of feature enabled for it. Say for example, if I'm going to select the first user, this user has POP enabled for his mailbox, and the rest of the features has not been enabled. So for example, IMAP is enabled, POP3 is enabled. So you'd be able to find what type of feature is enabled for this mailbox. And if you want to filter out only a specific feature which has been enabled for user mailbox, like I said, applying filter is something that you could do and make things, easier rather to see, the report in a complicated way. If you want to filter out only the POP enabled mailboxes, yes, you can go ahead and filter it out. And like I said, you can also have this scheduled as a separate report. So you don't have to do, it's going to stop your work from being monotonous. You don't have to log into the product every day and have the sub filter applied on a daily basis. So apply a filter once, have it scheduled to run on a daily basis. Okay? Okay. And the next thing is going to be the message delivery settings. In this report, what are we going to show is the size that has been sent, like what's the size that has been set. So what is the sending size set for your mailbox? What is the receiving size set for your mailbox? Etc. All those information will be covered up in this report. For example, this is the maximum sending size applied for that particular mailbox, the maximum receiving size applied for that particular mailbox, and recipient limit as well. So if your mailbox is trying to, if someone is trying to send an email and if the recipient limit crosses 500, it's going to fail because the recipient limit is set to 500. So these information should be captured in this one. And mailbox with forward to something that everybody knows. For example, if I'm going to send an email to any one of you, and if you want that email to be forwarded to a different person, you can have that. You can find and you can track down all this information using this mailbox with forward to report. Okay, so let me just click on this report. So if I send an email to this person, that email would be forwarded to this person. Okay, so you can find which mailbox, if you send a mailbox, if you send an email to a particular mailbox, you can find to which email, to which mailbox that email is being forwarded to. And migration statistics is nothing but the statistics of the users who have been migrated from Exchange on-prem to Office 365. You'll be able to see, if the mailbox has been migrated from on-prem to Office 365, you can get a quick look at, the users who have been, who has been migrated from on-prem to Office 365. I mean, this is only if the user has been migrated from an on-prem. If it is purely cloud-based one, then I don't think this report would be much helpful for those people who have just a cloud setup in their environment. Okay, so client connection by users, which user uses like what type of what's the mode of access to log into their mailbox. If it is the Outlook web access or whatever it is, you can find which user uses what type of access to log into their mailboxes. So I'm just going to generate this report real quick. Okay, so here it is. So this user has, logged into the Outlook web access, and the count is here. 14 times the user has tried to log into the Outlook web app. Likewise, it will be giving the information for each and everything. If he's using POP3 feature and the log of the count that he has, tried, the attempts that he has made will also be covered in this particular report. All right. So, and next thing is going to be auto reply configuration. For example, most of the guys, if we are going to go on a vacation, the first thing that we do is to set an auto reply. So if any user tries to send in an email, may it be anything, if he wants to get a report from you or if he is not sure like what you're up to, he'll be trying to send in here, hey, this is what I need from you. And there will be an auto generated reply, which would be sent, I'm on vacation from this date to this date. So in that case, if you want to know what are the mailboxes that has auto reply configuration set up, you can find that information in this particular report. So it gives you the details of all the user mailbox that has auto reply set, not just user mailbox. Like I said, you can also find the if any shared mailbox has auto reply configuration set up, you can find that using this particular report. Okay, now we are going to talk about the retention policies which we were looking in the agenda. So you would like to know what type of policy has been applied for a particular mailbox. In order to know that, you can find this report which would give you the retention policy and its details. Say for example, this is a mailbox, and if you wanted to know what type of retention policy has been applied over here, you can find it over here. And if any modification has been done to that policy, you can find when was that modification done, when was that policy created. So a lot of information in this particular report. So now we had an overview about the mailbox general reports for the mailboxes. Now not just having general reports is going to get any better result. You would also like to have a look on the size of the mailboxes. That is where we have a separate column called size report, where you would be able to keep a track of size of the mailboxes. So if something is going to go beyond our control, if any more mailboxes is going to increase in size, you can just get a report for that, and you can stop that from getting before get things worse. You can get stop that from going worse. Simple. So clicking on the first report, it will give you all the mailboxes in your organization and its corresponding size. Let me just click on this report over here. Okay, so if you see here, the total item size will be listed over here, and this is of course the mailbox name, the display name, item count, and every single information will be covered up in here. If you see here, we have a lot of columns over here which you can find, and that would give you a detailed, crisp information of what's the size of the mailboxes. Okay, and size restrictions is something that every mailbox would be having certain size restrictions. When I try to send an email that has an attachment or that exceeds a particular size, oh yes, that is going to fail because of the size restriction. You can find whose email box has what type of size restriction set. If you see here, prohibit send quota is 99 gigabytes, and recoverable items in the quota is 100 gigabytes. Recoverable items warning quota is 90 gigabytes. So these are all the available informations in this particular report. All right. So current mailbox size versus quota is something that the default threshold that has been set for the mailbox versus the current size of the mailbox. For example, if I'm going to set a current mailbox size quota is going to be like 100 gigabytes, and I can set up a warning when that mailbox reaches 90 gigabytes, I would be able to get a warning for that. Let me show you that momentarily. Okay, so if you see here, the maximum item size is 100, and the total item size in this mailbox is 110.7256 kilobytes. Okay, so you'd be able to find what the size quota, what is the current mailbox size within the or what is the maximum allowed size for the particular mailbox. And mailbox size over time. Now you would like to know, like rather than getting a summarized report, if you want to know what is the size of the mailboxes, what are the size of certain mailboxes within a given amount of time. For example, if someone approaches you and say, hey, you know what, in a couple of days I'm getting a lot of emails, I just wanted to know what is the size of my mailbox. Click on this report, and you can get the user information from him, and you can enter the username. So within the given amount of time, let's say for example, if he says within a couple of days, you can use the custom range, okay, and you can generate the report, and you'll be able to find what is the size of the mailbox within the given amount of time. Okay, all right. So now we saw the information about the general reports, which includes the mail-enabled users, inactive mailboxes, archive mailboxes, etc. Plus, we also had a look at the size of the mailboxes, where you'll be able to see the quota size that has been set versus the current mailbox size, etc. Now, you would also like to know about the status of the mailboxes, when a mailbox was created, and if any mailbox has been disconnected, or how many users are active, how many disabled users are there in your organization. Yes, you could track that information using the account status report. Clicking on this report would give you the information of the mailboxes that were created. You can also specifically choose the report, you can drill down by allocating the time frame. So if you set the period within the given amount of time, you'll be able to find the mailboxes that were created in your organization. Okay, and disconnected mailboxes, if any mailbox has been disconnected, you can find that information by clicking on this report. And the same applies for soft deleted mailboxes. So if any mailbox is being deleted temporarily, I'm not going to delete that permanently. I'm going to have that deleted temporarily. If you want to know what are those mailboxes, you can find that information using here. And if I'm going to set up a delegate permission for a mailbox, if you wanted to know, to which user the delegation has been provided, you can find that information using this particular report. So who can send email on behalf of me? You can find all this information in here. So, okay. Right, so enabled exchange users are the one who are all active in Azure AD. You'll be able to track that information and send us permission report. Users who, the contacts and the users who ask send us permission on behalf of me will be tracked down in this particular report. Okay, so next thing that we're going to see is about searching for a particular content, may it be attachment file size or may it be a subject, whatever it is. If you want to find a particular email, you can use this content report to drill down the information for a particular mailbox, like how many folders. If you want to track down the folders and the item counts and size of the items inside the particular folder, you can click on the first report. So which would give you the display name, the folder type, the path, items inside the folder, and the size of the folders will also be listed. So which is gonna, we're gonna drill down to the bottom of the mailboxes and to identify what are the subfolders inside it and what are the size of those folders can be tracked down using this particular report. And attachment by file size. Let's say, for example, if you want to calculate a particular mailbox's size using its attachment, you can use this report, which would give you the size of the attachments in a particular mailbox. So for this person, the total attachment size is 0. So if I sort it out, again, it's gonna give you the information like what is the actual size of the attachments in that contains inside that particular mailbox. Okay, and next thing is going to be messages by subject. For example, there might be a scenario where you would like to track down a particular email, and on a daily basis we get like 200 to 300 emails, or who knows, maybe like 1,000 emails per day. If it's going to be a call center or anything of that, kind of a BPO organization, yes, mail flow is going to be huge. And in that scenario, if you want to track down a particular email, this report would be helpful for you. So all you have to do is get the subject of that email and you can put it over here. So whatever the subject that you enter, the corresponding emails that matches that particular subject will be listed in this particular report again. Yeah. So it's going to be quite easy for you. You can no need to go log into the mailbox and look for that particular email. Rather, you can just use our tool to find that information by using a subject. Okay. And the next thing is going to be, in this particular category, we had an overview about the mailbox, size of the mailbox, status of the mailboxes, and the content report, which is used to drill down and search a particular email. Next thing is going to be the traffic, because every organization would like to keep an eye on the traffic that happens on a user mailbox or maybe an organization. Using our tool, you'll be able to track down the, the entire organization's traffic plus an individual user traffic using the traffic report category over here. So mailbox traffic report, where you'll be able to see the first report is going to give you a summarized information. Now that's something that every organization has. So if you want to drill down and if you wanted to track down an activity of a particular user, you can use this particular report, which is called email activity by user. So this is the email address, and the incoming emails are totally 3 and the outgoing emails are 0. Internal sent and external sent is nothing but the internal sent is the mails that has been sent within the organization. External sent is something that if I'm going to try to send an email to Gmail or Yahoo or any third-party user, that's going to come under the external. Or in other words, you can say that the user who's not, or member who's not a part of the organization. And if any email gets received from a third party, you can also track that information. And not just user email activity, you can also track the communication that has been happening between two users using this particular report, which is called user to user email activity. So let me give you a quick demonstration. So for example, I'm gonna copy this person name and I'm gonna put him over here, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here, user B, and if I hit enter, I would be getting only the activity that has been happened between these two users. See that? How many mails has been sent by user A to user B, and how many emails has been sent from user A to user B to user A. So all this information should be tracked down using this user to user email activity report. And when it comes to traffic or when it comes to sending emails, the major portion, something that makes your work even critical is sending spam and malware emails. So if you want to track that information, we do have a separate report where you can find the spam traffic summary, or you can also find who's the user who's sending in a lot of spam emails on a regular basis. So clicking on this report would give you the top spam recipients. So see that this person has sent like totally 20 spam. So if you want to sort it out in ascending order or descending order, you'd be able to find that information. And the same applies for malware recipients. So if you wanted to know who are all the top malware recipients, you can click on this report, and the malware count also will be listed in this particular email. So this is something like, which can prevent, bad things from happening. You can stop bad things from happening. So these two reports would definitely be helpful for you. So you can keep a track of spam emails plus malware emails. Before things get worse, you can, stop them from, going worse. All right. And let's say, for example, if your organization has multiple domains, and if you wanted to track down, like, for example, any big, huge organization that has or companies in several locations, for example, India or Japan, or with unique domains, you also would like to know what could be the traffic that is happening on a particular domain. If you want to know that information, click on this domain traffic summary. This is only for those, organization which has multiple domains. So here it would be listing all the domains. Probably you have to select a specific domain for which you wanted to track the traffic information, and you would be able to get how many incoming emails, outgoing emails, and internally sent, externally sent, etc. Okay. So let me not waste time, waiting for this report to generate. Like I said, that's what the information is going to be provided in here. So it's going to give you the external sent, internal sent, etc. Okay. So, and if you also like, for example, when it comes to traffic report, the other major thing that you would like to notice is, undelivered emails. If you send an email to a particular user, and if you wanted to know if that email has been delivered or not, you can find this report. If it has been delivered, yes, you'll be able to find that in the regular report, email activity by user or etc. If you feel that, that email might not be delivered, click on this report. It would give you the undelivered emails. So within the past 7 days, okay, you'll be able to see the number of undelivered email within the past 7 days. Okay, you can either filter it out using a subject or recipient, etc. And email to invalid address, again, this is a pretty straightforward report. If I'm going to try sending an email to any invalid email address, yes, that information will be captured in this particular report. Failed email due to size, again, it's going to be something that, if I'm going to set up a size of incoming and outgoing email is going to be 10 gigabytes. And if any user tries to send in an email that exceeds 10 gigabytes, yes, that message is going to fail because of the size restrictions that I've set for my mailbox. And the last one is going to be the summarized report, which is going to be delivered versus undelivered emails, which will give you the number of mails that were delivered versus the number of mails that were not delivered for the past 7 days. Okay, so while I explain all this information, the one advantage of having the report column is the first thing is, which I told you, applying a filter and having that filter scheduled as a new report. So you don't have to come on, log into the product on a daily basis, have the filter applied again and again. And the next thing is, maybe any report, if you want that to be exported to your email address, if you want that to be, scheduled, and if you want to run that, here is the option to schedule the report, which is over here. So if I click on schedule, that report is going to give you the option. So next thing is exporting the report, because you would be, having certain ideas like, this is what I need. So in that case, maybe any report, just click on this email activity by user. We have 4 different type of exporting a particular report, which is going to be CSV, PDF, XLS, and HTML. So these are all the exporting options that is available. And the next thing is going to be, like, as we discussed in the traffic report, we had an overview about how to stop the spam emails from getting generated, how to keep a track on malware recipients, how to track an email activity by a user, how to track down the communication that has been happening between 2 specific user. Next thing that we're going to see is to track down the user activity. If any user is using Outlook Web Access, or if he's using his mobile device, if you want to track down his login activities, this report would be helpful for you. Okay. Right. So clicking on the first report would give you the OWA logon by user. So it's going to give you the last time the user logged in. So how many days it's been since he logged into his Outlook Web Access. All these information will be covered up, and the next report is going to be the browser that the particular user uses. Let's say, for example, if I'm using Chrome or if I'm using Firefox, you can track that information by clicking on this particular report, which would give you a separate column that has browser. Okay, so here you'll be able to see the browser plus the version of the browser and the logon count as well. So the next report is, again, it's going to be having it's going to have the same columns. The only difference between these three reports is it's going to be users. The first one is going to be log on by users, and the next one is going to be log on by browsers, and the next one is going to be the operating system that the user uses to log into his Outlook Web Access. And attachment policies. So what is the attachment policies that has been applied for a particular mailbox? You'll be able to find the attachment policies. So here you'll be able to see the attachment policies that are allowed for a particular mailbox. And if you want to know what is the policy applied for a particular user, you can find that information in here. OWA attachment policy by users. So the next thing is going to be, rather than looking in each and every policy, if you want to drill down it, you can click on the attachment policy. You can enter the policy name over here. So whatever the policy that you enter, and the user who matches that particular corresponding policy will be listed over here. Again, it can be scheduled as a new report. So having this filtering option is like real good option for you, I believe, because you don't have to, like I said, again, it's going to stop your work from being monotonous. Right. So next thing is going to be the mobile device report. So in this mobile device report, what I would be seeing is, let me just click on this report. Okay, so all right, so in this mobile device report, what I'm going to see is I'll be seeing the username and the device that I use to log into my mailbox. What's the device type, the device ID, when was the first sync happened, IMEI number of the device as well. So, and the next thing is going to be, again, it's going to be the same category which we saw in the OWA report. So in OWA reports, we saw about logon by users, browsers, and operating system. And the same is going to be applied for mobile devices. Next report is going to give you the operating system installed on a mobile device, maybe an Android or maybe a Windows phone. You'll be able to find that information. For example, let me just click on this report. Okay, so here it is, the device name, operating system installed on that particular device, the language that has been set up, username, device type, device ID, etc. Okay, so if mobile devices by policy, this report is going to give you the policy that has been applied for every particular mobile device. Let me just wait for the report. Okay, there we go. So what is the policy applied for this device? So device name, and for example, this is the device. For this device, this is the policy applied. Again, like I said, you can use the filtering option. If you want to track the devices that has a particular policy applied, use this option, policy applied contains. If you enter the policy name, for example, if I just copy paste it over here, and if I click on apply filter, just give me 1 second over here. Let me just try that again. Okay, I'm going to apply a policy real quick over here. Okay, for some reason the report is not gathering the information. Okay, so let's not waste time looking out for that particular report. So that's how it works. If you want to track down the email by a particular policy, you can use a filter. The policy name contains the policy that you have set. You can use the apply filter, and you can search it, and you can have it scheduled as a separate report. Okay, so and if you also wanted to know how many folders in your mobile device has been synchronized, you can click on this particular report. All right, so for example, if I click on this report, it's going to give you how many folders has been synchronized in a particular device. We might be having several folders. If you wanted to know how many folders has been synchronized, see that it would give you the device name and the folders for that particular device which has been synced, the username and the device type, and when was the first sync happened. Okay, and the next thing that we are going to look about is, in the first agenda, like when I was explaining you about the mailboxes, I was concentrating only on user mailboxes. I was not talking about the shared mailbox. I was not talking about the distribution list. I was not talking about the row mailboxes, equipment mailboxes as well. You might be having a question, where can I find those reports and where can I find the information for those reports? Yes, it is available in the other Exchange reports. So clicking on the first report would give you the shared mailboxes in your organization. Let me just click on this report real quick. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this is the display name and this is the email address. So this is the shared mailbox in your organization. Okay, you'll be able to find all this information in just one single report. Next thing is going to be shared mailbox access. So when, like for example, if you wanted to know what are the, like who has what type of access for a particular shared mailbox, you'd be able to find that using this particular report. So when did that event happen and who did that activity, what was the operation, folder bind was the operation performed by this particular user, etc. So what type of activity has been happening on a particular mailbox will be captured in this report, and users who have sent us permission on a shared mailbox will be tracked down using this particular report. So okay, and if you also wanted to know the activity that is happening on a shared mailbox, how we saw the user activity, the traffic that happens on a user mailbox. If you also wanted to track the information that happens on a shared mailbox, you'd be able to find that information. What's the activity? So this, when was the event happened? So this is the event that was happened on 15th September. Who did that activity? What was the operation? And what is the result status? Every information will be covered up in the shared mailbox activity report. And inactive shared mailboxes, your organization might be having who knows, like maybe 200 or 300 shared mailboxes. If you, out of those, definitely there would be certain shared mailboxes which will be inactive. If you want to track that information, you can click on this particular report. Okay, I'm just running into a problem, just give me a second over here. Okay, I think it's taking some time, so let's, yeah, like I said, yeah, let me just skip to the next report. All right, so out of those shared mailboxes, if you wanted to know which mailbox has been used on high priority, you'd be able to track that information using the top used shared mailboxes. Okay, let me log into the product. Okay, let me jump onto the reports category over here. Okay. Other Exchange reports, top used shared mailboxes. Okay, if you see here, out of all the shared mailboxes in your organization, these are all the top used shared mailboxes. So, which has a lot of receive count, send count, total counts. If it tops the chart, then you'll be able to find that information in the top used shared mailboxes report. Next thing is going to be the shared mailbox size, again, which we saw in the mailbox report category. When we were having a look about the mailboxes, we were also having a, I also told you that it's better to have an eye on the user mailbox size. And the same applies over here as well. Now we are going to see the shared mailbox size, which will give you the each and every shared mailbox in your organization plus the corresponding size of the particular shared mailbox. Okay, so email activity. What this report is going to give you is the email activity, the traffic that be happening on a particular shared mailbox, like how many messages has been sent and how many messages has been received, on a shared mailboxes. You'll be able to track that information. I'm just waiting for the report to give up some data. Let's see if it brings up any data. Okay, so yeah, right. Yeah, let's put it on hold for a while. So the next thing is going to be the number of mails sent and received. Email activity would itself give you the number of mails that has been sent and received on a shared mailboxes. If you want to, track only the sent email, either you can apply a filter in this email activity report, or we have a separate report called mail sent. Or if you wanted to know what are the mails that have been received on a shared mailbox, you can find that information in here. So next thing that we are going to discuss is about the public folders. The first report would give you the public folders in your organization. Okay, so this is my setup, so I don't, have much of data dumped into it. So that's the reason most of the report takes a long time, or it comes up saying no data available. So like I said, this is what the report is going to give you. Like, it's going to give you the number of public folders in your organization, and out of those public folders, how many public folders has mail enabled on it. That's what we're going to see in this next report. And in that public folders, how many items do we have will be covered up in the next report. And the public folder activity, if I click on this report, you'll be able to track the activity that happens on a public folder. Okay, so here is how the report looks like. So when was the activity happened and what type of activity was happened? If you want to click on the parameters, you'll be able to find the details in here. So let me just click on close. So this is how the report looks like. What type of activity has been happening on a public folder? You'll be able to track that information. Okay, and the next thing is going to be the distribution list. If you wanted to know how many distribution lists are there in your organization, you would be able to click on this report over here, and it would give you the distribution list. And recently we came up with this option. Previously, we were able to show inactive distribution list only for the past 7 days. Now you have an option to go even like, how many ever days you wanted to get back. And if we want to find the inactive distribution list, you'd be able to find that information. All you have to do is enter the number of days. So within the given amount of days, you'll be able to find the distribution lists that are inactive. And when was the last email that was received for a distribution list? You'll be able to track that information. So when was the last email received? You'll be able to find that information over here. Okay, so, and if you wanted to, not just, we had an overview about the user mailbox, shared mailbox. Now, like I said, in the other Exchange report category, we will also be covering a lot about room mailboxes and calendar mailboxes. So first, clicking on the first report, of course, it's going to give you the room mailboxes in your organization. So we have two options. If you guys remember, in the first report, mailbox enabled user report, we would have seen that, either we can apply a filter by entering the recipient type filter. Let me just show you that real quick. So in order to get the room mailbox reports alone, you can use this report as well. Like, for example, you can apply a filter over here, select the recipient type. You can enter the room mailbox, which will filter out the room mailbox. Or if you want that to be a separate report, you can just go back, jump onto the other Exchange reports, click on the room mailboxes, which will be giving you only the room mailboxes in your organization. Okay, and the next thing is going to be the room mailbox event, like what and like how many events has been booked on a particular room mailbox. You'd be able to track that information. And the booking count, for example, if I'm going to book a conference room, and if you want to get the details of that particular conference room, like, what's the time duration, what is the utilization, and how many hours have I booked, you'll be able to track every single, information using this room mailbox report. Let me click on this booking count report real quick. Okay, so like I said, it would be giving you the email address, of course, and what type of mailbox is that. The booking count is 5. Likewise, you would also be able to find the information. A lot more information will be covered up in the configuration and the room mailbox usage report. Okay, see that? What's the room capacity and the booking window? It's going to be for 180 days, and the maximum duration is going to be for 1 day. Every single information that can be possibly done on a room mailbox can be covered in this particular report. Okay, and then the same applies for room mailbox usage. If you wanted to know what is the usage for a particular room mailbox, you can click on this report and you'll be able to find that information. There we go. Okay, so the booking count, the utilization hours, see that 30 minutes, the utilization percentage. So totally The total duration was around like 29 days, 23 hours, which is almost like 30 days. Out of those 30 days, I've utilized only 30 minutes, which has been calculated in the percentage, and it has given you the percentage utilization, which is 0.07. Okay, so every single information in room mailbox can be covered up in this room mailbox report. Next thing is going to be the calendar. So if you wanted to know what are the events that has been scheduled on a calendar, you can click on this report, which would give you the information of what events has been scheduled in a calendar and specific number of days. Again, that's really important, right? Because event and meetings can be scheduled at any point of time. If you want to specifically find the information within a given amount of time, you can select the period and you can generate the report. It's going to be pretty simple. And if any modification has been done, for example, I'm scheduling a meeting today, and later on, if due to some unfortunate circumstances, if I had to reschedule a meeting, either I'm going to modify and I'm going to put it after an hour, which is going to be postponed for an hour. I can find that information, what modification has been done, or if I'm deleting that event for the day, and if I'm going to postpone that meeting later on, like maybe next week or tomorrow, I can find that information as well. So these are all the information that we can probably cover up using the calendar report. The calendar folder permission is nothing but which user has what type of access on a particular folder. So in this folder name called calendar, this user has no access, and this user has availability only access. So access right, which has been set for a particular user on a particular folder, can be covered up using this particular report. Okay, so in this agenda, we had I've covered almost everything. In this particular report, we saw the mailbox, size, configurations, permissions, traffic, status, etc. And also we had an overview about the user logon behaviors, policies applied for them, the mailbox policies that's been applied on mailbox, as well as the policies that has been applied on a user. We also had a look at that, and of course shared mailbox, the report for shared mailbox, who has sent us permission on shared mailbox. We covered up everything. Next, what we're going to look is we're going to find the user activities that can be possibly done on OneDrive. So I'm going to jump onto this OneDrive for Business report, which would be found under this category, report category. Exchange Online is what we just saw, and the next thing is going to be OneDrive for Business. So where you would be able to track every single information of a particular user. For example, if you wanted to know like what are the possible actions that we could do in a OneDrive. So we can either upload a file, or we can download a file, or we can do modifications to an existing file. These are the possible actions that we could probably do, right? So we could have that information triggered as a separate report. For example, if I click on this OneDrive file access report over here, I would be able to find all the information of when was that activity happening, and who did that activity, and what type of activity was happening, and on which source file name. All the single piece of information will be covered up in this report. The URL of the file, right from URL of the file, the source file of what type of modification has been done will be covered up using this report. And the same applies for file modification. Let's say, for example, if I'm existing and if I'm doing any modification to an existing file, I can find that information as well. It's like who did that activity, when was that activity happened, and what is on which file was that event happened. For example, when. So this is the time the event has happened, what type of activity. It's going to be file modification. Who did that activity? Here is the user. The source file name will also be captured in this report. And the same applies for file renaming. If I'm renaming a file to any different extension or whatever it is, you can track that information using this report. Again, when was the event happened? What type of activity? Of course, it's going to be file renamed. Who did that? Yes, this person. And the site URL, and on which file name. Here is the source file name and the destination. Every single piece of information will be covered up in this OneDrive for Business report. And if, let's say, for example, if I create a document and if I upload it on OneDrive, I'd be able to see which files were uploaded. If I'm uploading a file and if you wanted to get a report, you can find that information. Okay, so again, it's going to be, the columns are going to be the same. Like I said, it's going to give you the operation that has been done. For example, if it's going to be uploads, which file was uploaded. If it is file accessed, which file was accessed, or downloaded, which file was downloaded. That's the basic difference that you could see in this particular report. And yeah, of course, deleted files, if I'm going to delete any file from OneDrive, we can also track that information by clicking on the deleted files. So which file was deleted? This file was deleted by this person at this time. Okay, and next thing is going to be the sharing activities. Like for example, in OneDrive, you would also be able to find all the sharing activities. If I'm going to share a file with a specific user, you'll be able to find what type of file is being shared. If I'm giving a sharing invitation, you can find that information. Every single piece of information can be covered up in this OneDrive for Business report. Right. So we have almost covered up everything in this agenda, like user activities on OneDrive. Give me just 1 second over here. So just give me 1 quick second over here. So I'm going to also explain you some of the key features that we have in our tool. So for example, when I was explaining you about the mailbox features, I told you about which feature has what type, which mailbox has what type of feature. So this one has POP enabled, IMAP enabled. The one advantage of using this feature is, like I said, I would be discussing a lot about the management feature in the next workshop series, in the upcoming workshop series. But for this, I would also like to give you some of the hints that you could do from the product itself. So while I explain the report, I can also explain you the corresponding management feature that we have. So if you wanted to know, so this report would give you what type of feature has been enabled on a particular mailbox. And if you want to enable or if you want to disable a particular feature, you can use the management feature. Again, I'm not going to get in too much, get in detail on this particular feature because we have a dedicated workshop series to explain a lot about this management feature. I'm just giving you a quick heads up on, how to set things up. Okay, so click on the mailbox feature settings. Like I said, it's going to give you all the available options. So IMAP, MAPI, POP, EWS, OWA. So if you want to enable it for a particular user, you can enter the username over here and have all these features enabled. Or if it's going to be for bulk users, for example, if you wanted to apply the same settings for say 500 or 400 users, it's going to be an impossible task entering each and every username over here, having things applied. Rather, you can use the CSV import option. You can put all the users in a single CSV file, download the CSV file, and you can import all the mailboxes and you can have things applied over there. And the same applies for, So over here, you can also set up the mailbox with forward to plus auto reply configuration. In order to do that, we have the management feature over here. So here we have the mailbox with forward to. If I click over here, forwarding enabled, yes, it's going to be true. Delivered and forward, yes, it's also going to be true. Forward to the destination mailbox, to where the email is going to get forwarded to. The username over here. Okay, so which is applicable for a single user also as well as for multiple users. And the same applies for auto reply configuration as well. Like I said, in the reports category, if you guys remember, excuse me, I told you about, setting up auto reply. That report would give you the mailbox that has auto reply set up. But if you want to set auto reply for a particular user, you can use this management feature. Okay, and like again guys, I'm not going to get in too much in detail on this management feature. I'm just gonna explain you some of the key features. While I explain the reports, I thought it would be even nice if I explain the corresponding management feature. So you might be running into a question, okay fine, you guys have this report, if I had to do with something, if I had to manage this, where can I go? So that's the reason I'm explaining some of the key features in the management tool. Okay, so again, the next thing that we have is going to be the in this tab, for example, let me jump on to the shared mailbox report, because not just user mailbox, it's something that you can manage. You can also go ahead and change the permissions on a shared mailbox and on user mailbox as well. Again, let me go to the management tab over here. Mailbox permission changes is going to be for user mailbox. What type of permissions am I going to assign? The reason why I'm explaining this is the security which we saw in the agenda. So I'm going to select the, okay. I'm going to select this user over here. If I hit OK, I can select the user and I can give the access right. So what type of access am I going to give? Is it going to be full access, or is it going to be delete, or is it going to be read permission, or whatever it is? You can find that information in here. Okay. Let me just give you 1 second. Let me just get to the agenda real quick. There is the agenda. Okay. Unfortunately, I just closed it. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, let me just jump onto the product. Okay. So, like I said, setting up permissions on a particular mailbox, and here are the available options: full access, delete items, read permissions, which is also applicable for shared mailboxes. So here is the option, and if I go to shared mailbox task, here is the available option, shared mailbox permission changes, where you can do the same thing. Select the user who is going to assign all this permission, access rights, and once you hit apply, yes, the permissions will be changed for a particular user. And again, it's going to be for a single user, and it can also be done for a whole bunch of users. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much with it for today's agenda. Like I said, you can, we could probably, we saw an overview about the mailboxes, size of the mailboxes, and try, tracking down the spam and the malware recipients. Like I said, that's really a good thing, from, you can stop bad things from happening by keeping a track of spam and malware emails on a regular basis, and user logon activity on mobile devices and Outlook web access, the policies applied on mailboxes, and we also had an overview about the distribution list, emails that has been sent to a distribution list, inactive distribution list, and we also saw what are the possible activities that can be done by a user on OneDrive. So these are the options that we saw for today. Okay, so we would be covering up a lot more in the next workshop series. Okay, and I would really like to thank each and every one of you for spending time with me in this workshop series. Okay, so we would be covering a lot, more interesting features. Like I said, I don't want to get in too much in detail on this management feature. I have a, dedicated workshop for the explaining the management feature alone, where you would be getting benefited of, about a lot of capabilities of the product. So we have covered up almost everything in this agenda. So if you guys have any questions or anything, you can reach out to me anytime, or, if you guys have any questions in this workshop, next time when we connect, which should be on Thursday at the same time, you can reach out to me, and if you guys have any questions, you can always use the chat window and you can come up with the questions, and those questions will be answered at high priority. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for spending time with me on this workshop. I really appreciate your time and patience. You guys have a wonderful day and take care. Bye-bye.